One of the best ways to improve your life is addition by subtraction. Hello again, everyone. I'm Eli's dad with Project Eli, where we educate, lead, and inspire. Easy for me to say. And I was just motivated from a comment from one of my subscribers about how you get started and improve your life. And just it seemed that everything I was reading and coming across was relating to that particular question. And I came across an article by a gentleman named Nicholas Cole called 8 Really Bad Habits We All Do That Drain Our Focus. And under the heading of addition by subtraction, in other words, we get rid of these 8 really bad habits, we're going to move forward. So last time we got together, we talked about, planting the right seeds, and if you want to move ahead, you got to plant in the garden where you want to, reap a harvest. Let's also get out of the place where it's holding up the growth of our personal development. All right, the first thing I want to talk about is constantly checking your phone. Wow, this has become the #1 habit that people adhere to, that you can't go anywhere without seeing people looking at their phone. You got to remember that, these are great devices, it's great to communicate, so on and so forth, but the world actually thrived and survived before the advent of cell phones, and it did so pretty well. All right, I mean, cell phones have been around, I guess, for, 20 years or so, whatever, right now, where they've been the main focus of society. But up until that time, people seem to get along pretty well without them. The point is, the phone is a tool for you. You do not want to become a tool of the phone. And it's kind of like, when I see that, it reminds me of the Terminators, where the machines have taken over. It's time to, put your phone away, don't let your phone control your life, and then you can safely say, I'll be back in charge of my own life. Second, one of the things we have to stop doing is people listen, but do they really listen? People are not listening. And when I say that, what I mean is someone's talking, and while they're talking, instead of listening to the content of what they're saying, you've already made up your mind in your head what's going to be coming across, and you're focusing on, as soon as they stop, because you're a polite person, as soon as they stop, what you're going to say to them in response. I find myself guilty of that quite often. And when I do, I try and put a stop to it. You don't want to be like that. You actually want to listen to other people. And it helps you 2 ways. Number one, when you're really listening to what the other person is saying, it's a bonding experience. And the other thing is, when you listen to what the other person is saying, usually there's some pretty good content. So you want to be able to absorb other viewpoints, because that can alter your viewpoint, and sometimes you will get an aha moment when you take their viewpoint and add it to yours. So really focus on your listening skills. As they say since the beginning of time, the Lord's given you 2 ears and 1 mouth. That should indicate the proportion with which you should be using each. Number 3, things to get away from. Multitasking. Multitasking. There we go, I can say it. Multitasking. Multitasking, to me, does not get the job done. I refer to it as multi-distracting. When your focus meanders from more than one thing, it's like, juggling a whole bunch of balls. It's much easier to juggle 1 ball than it is to juggle 4 or 5, and you're going to be much more successful. People that don't get the job done tend to be distracted. When you keep your focus, when you keep your eye on the ball, you will move forward. Multitasking is not a good thing. It is distracting. So keep your focus in one area, get the job done, move to the next area. That's the way successful people work. Number 4, under the heading of distractions, working with the television on, or working with the computer on, or working with the games on. The point is, it's so easy to, or with music in the background, unless it's elevator music. People, if you want to get a job done, you've got to have a singleness of purpose. And people tend to say, like, oh yeah, I'm listening to what you're saying, and then they're looking away. And first of all, isn't that annoying? When people, they're looking one way, yeah, I can hear you. It's annoying, number 1. And number 2, it's not productive. So once again, singleness of purpose is a key element to success in whatever endeavor you're pursuing. Number 5, working in unproductive environments. Years ago when I was in the sales business, every Sunday night was a great night, because that was the night that I would take my prospect list, the people that I wanted to potentially sit in front of so I could make my money, make my living. And Sunday night between like 6:30 and 8 o'clock I would get so much more done on the phone, talking to people. Why? Because when you call people, one of the essential ingredients to success in making an appointment is they be at the other end of the phone to answer it. And the number 1 TV show at that time was a show called 60 Minutes, which is still on the air, by the way. And it was the number 1 show. People were home during that time frame. People tend to be home. So that was the time you wanted to make your phone calls, because that hour and a half or 2 hours that you were making appointments, you could get virtually your whole week of appointments done. You just had a little punch-up follow-up during the rest of the week. That's number 1. So that's the when. The other place is the where, and this is critically important also. I could have made those appointments from my phone at my house, but I didn't. Why? Because there are distracting elements at your house. There are people there. There are activities going on there. You want to be alone. You want to be completely focused on what you're doing. So what did we do? We opened up the office on Sunday night. We were virtually the only people in the building. People would come in and they would make their phone calls on Sunday night. Now, many Sunday nights, I was the only person there making phone calls, which could also be one of the reasons why I was the top producer in the office for months and months and months and months. But I digress. The point is, when you want to get a job done, the where and the when are key elements. So make sure that you're working in a productive environment. All right, and that goes for even as much as meditating. You want to set aside, your quiet thinking time every day, a quiet spot where you're not going to be disturbed. Think about that type of thing. When you want to get things done, your environment is critical. As well as number 6, which is working with unproductive people. There are, once again, we keep talking about singleness of focus, your singleness of purpose. Some people are just distracting as people. Now, they can be fun to be with and your friends, but when it's playtime, it's playtime. When it's work time, it's work time. So you want to be with people that are productive. You don't want to be with people that are either distracting or have a bad attitude. If you want to get the most done, you've got to carefully measure the people around you, and sometimes that means, taking friendships that you've had and shortening the time frame that you spend with that particular person when you make the decision that you are going to be productive. So make that decision. Take a look at the people that you're hanging around with, because as everybody knows, you become a composite of the 5 people you hang around with the most, financially speaking, what you get done work-wise. And if you look at the 5 people you hang around with the most and they're not particularly productive, then you might want to go and give it a rethink and focus the time that you spend around people that are more productive. So always be looking at that. 7th point, lack of preparation. You know, when I make these videos, or when I used to go to the office to make those phone calls that I spoke about earlier, once I got to the position, I was ready to rock and roll right then. You get all of the little things out of the way. Before I make a video like we're doing right now, is I sit down, I go over, I make notes, I rehearse, I prepare. So that when you get in front of the camera, when you get in front of the audience, when you get on the phone, when you're performing the action that makes you money, you are prepared. Preparation starts before the director says, action! You need to be prepared before. So get all of your ducks in a row so that when you, for example, when I get ready to make these videos, it's like, to me, that's the easiest part of it. Just the same way as coaching a basketball team, the most difficult thing was the practice. The games were easy. Why? We were prepared. We did all of the things. This is what's going to happen in the game. This is the way you're going to respond. This is what we're looking to do. That's the attitude you need to have. Keep in mind, football coaches, professional football coaches, what do? They always script the first 15 to 25 plays. They can change them, but they're prepared. They have a game plan. So come with your mind in a scripted mentality, so you know what you're going to do that gets you to the starting line. It doesn't necessarily, you're going to follow the script all the way through, but you have to have the starting line scripted. That will make you the most productive. Does that make sense? And finally, the 8th point we want to talk about is shut off your notifications. Do you want to keep getting buzzed all the time? You know, people, they keep their phone on, they got one ear for the phone, you know, oh, this person, you know, Facebook is calling me, or, you know, I got this email or YouTube or whatever. You know, when you're going to do something, dedicate your full time, your full attention to that one particular event, to that one particular objective, and shut off those notifications. Once again, you are the person using the tool, you are not the tool. And you know, people, when they send you an email, when they send you a Snapchat, when they do those things, the purpose of that is that you get to respond when it's convenient for you. That's making the best use of that tool. It's great to be a communicator, to be able to be communicated with, but the point is, you want to, you know, if you're a productive person, you want to set aside a certain time when you do your communicating, because the other times you're focused on getting the job done. So the 8 things that we want to go over, once again, is stop constantly checking your phone, listen to when other people are speaking, stop the multitasking, it's multi-distracting, stop working with TV on, or, you know, games, you know, playing a game while you're trying to get something done. Focus on one thing at a time. Work in productive environments, not unproductive environments. Go, if you need to be alone, if you need to separate, just as I went to my office and stayed out of the house so I could make my phone calls, do the same thing. Work with productive people. Get rid of the unproductive people, or at least minimize the time you're spending with them. Come prepared. Be prepared to go to the starting line. And finally, shut off those distracting notifications so that you can maintain your focus. And because we will never end a meeting on a philosophical note, Stop being distracted. Let's get out there and charge. I'm Eli's dad.